Hello, hello, and welcome to the Psychic Tarot Show. This is a weekly forecast coming to you live on the Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you this wonderful content. And I'm so delighted to be here with all of you today on this eve of not only the autumn equinox, but also an incredible eclipse. So it's a powerful time and it does feel pretty bright from my perspective. How are you all feeling? Hi, Angela, Linda, Anne, Bright Angel. Hi, Fred and Seventh Pillar. Lovely to see you all. And yes, I am looking forward to this forecast as well. Aw, Joni, hi. Michelle, Simone, Raven, lovely to see you all. So yeah, you are here at the Psychic Tarot Weekly Show. And in case this is your first time, we basically tune our energies in together as a group. And we receive messages through this beautiful power neutral portal of the heart frequency, aligned with the greater good of all. We receive messages for all of us that are going to be relevant to each and every one of us, not just to one individual. There may be some things that come through these forecasts that are really, really relevant for you and some that are not so relevant. But generally speaking, it's information that's going to be useful for all of us. And I think there's something beautiful about recognizing that there's so many similarities. When we look at these forecasts, we're like, wow, I'm not the only person going through that. I find that really comforting and very helpful on some level. And if you'd like to learn more about how I do what I do and book a private session with me, a psychic tarot reading, these are 1 hour long and they are recorded so you can go back and listen. A lot of people go back and listen many, many times to the recording because there's so much information that comes through. Anyway, you can find me over on the Beyond Mystic Consultations page and use the coupon code below to access a 10% discount. So let's jump in to this week's forecast and see what is in store for all of us. And again, there's no absolutes with this. It's not like definite predictions that are set in stone. I like to call it, food for the imagination or a massage for the imagination so that we can have a sense of certain areas that we might want to give a little more attention to this week, other areas that we might want to steer clear of, and so on. Hi, Pat. Hi, Believe, Seven, Frog, Newsworld Report, Linda. I see some new names and I love it. It's great to see you tuning in from all over. Newfoundland, Texas, Denmark. Wow. Let's see. I've been to 2 of those places. Can you guess which 2? So fun. Okay. So I'm going to just shuffle a couple more times. I'm hearing. Take a big deep breath together, everybody. Exhale, come fully present into this moment. Tune into the energies of Earth, this beautiful, magnetic, pulsing, rhythmic energy of our Earth that's like a giant toroidal generator creating matter out of consciousness. That's what our world is. And then tune into the cosmic frequency of radiant, loving light consciousness streaming towards us from all directions. Just breathe it in through every pore and let go of anything that isn't serving you at this time. Hi, Nina. Nice to see you. Okay. I think we're ready to dive in and see what's around the corner potentially. So we're starting our week in the house of Aries, the house of the personality, the ego, basically what we bring into the week. And this card is I love this. It's called Valor, actually. It's the name that is associated with this card in the traditional tarot form. And by the way, I have a lot of people asking me what deck it is that I'm using, the same deck that Janine uses often, which is the Rider-Waite, which is kind of like a standard Western tarot deck. This is where a lot of our modern decks originate from, is this Rider-Waite deck that was created, I think, circa 1910. That deck is based on older decks, and there's a lot of history behind it. I won't get into all that right now. But anyway, this is a common deck we use, and we use this deck because the bright colors make the interpretations more obvious, right? A lot of primary colors, really, really easy to decipher kind of symbolic imagery as well. So that's why we use this deck. Okay, Seven of Wands, a seven, a spiritual number, wands, spiritual energy or creative life force energy. Do you notice how this character is almost standing between two sides of the divide? Bridging the divide, right? He's got valor. He's holding the hill, holding the high ground, and also literally stitching together the divided factions right beneath his own feet. So there's something this week for us to hold it together and not create more division. The seven is a spiritual number, and it requires inner fortitude, inner valor. So take the role of valor this week. And do you notice it's a bit more defensive than offensive as well? So those are all things to consider with that card, especially being in the house of self. All right, Taurus, security. Security and material things, material pleasures, and so on. Great, great balancing card. You know, there's security in your groundedness, because look at this character, everybody. They are standing, if you can see their feet. One foot is on the ground, on a stone, actually. That could be your your small amount of gold, silver, and crypto, what you have to stand on in the earthly realm, in the material realm, and the other foot is kind of dangling into the water. Water represents emotion, it can represent our relationships, and so on. So there's this real kind of foot in both worlds. And because Taurus also rules the body and our ability to be well nourished, to experience pleasure, there is a feeling this week of keeping balance between yeah, like spending a little bit more time maybe caring for your body, and not just in a, habits and lifestyle and so on, but in doing things that you find enjoyable and comforting. There's something about, we might be drawn to comfort food, but it's interesting, the water as well, the healing waters. So water could be particularly healing for you this week if you're planning to have a trip to the ocean or spend time near a body of water. That could be really extra comforting and help you feel, in a way, safer and happier here on earth. It's a lovely card. It's a lovely card to have in the house of Taurus there. Okay, Gemini. Gemini is our thoughts, our ideas, our plans, our communication. Well, really interesting that we don't have, remember, I think we had the Queen of Swords there last week. This week, there's less thinking and more, I don't want to say celebrating, but more doing, putting your thoughts into action this week. Gemini, again, the planner, the strategizer, the communicator, it's suggesting that you may want to think less and do more. And this is a card of going through an up level. It's a gateway card. You notice how this couple are about to go through this incredible gateway that's really celebrated, right? It's got all this beautiful bower of like fruit and flowers and so on. It's also the harvest. So we're going through the gateway of the time of year where we traditionally have these harvest festivals. So whether or not you're harvesting an actual garden, If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're not. You're just planting your garden. But that in itself is kind of a festival too. Or you're harvesting the completion or the almost completion of something that you've put several months of effort into. This week feels like you're going to make some progress in that direction. You're going to feel like you got the first harvest in of some description. Yeah. Did you being 1 foot in each world again? Yeah, exactly, right? Um, and I love this. So far, these cards look beautiful for the week. And the beginning of this eclipse. I think we are like in it today and tomorrow. So even over the next 3 or 4 days, it feels like we've gone through some kind of up-leveled gateway. Oh, another wand. So 1, 2, 3 wands. Didn't we have a lot of cups last week? I think we had like several cups so far this week, heavy in the wands. The wands are creativity, they're passion, they're also the spiritual life force energy and motivation. So you may feel a little more activated and motivated this week than you've felt for a while. And what a week. I can't wait to tell Crystal this. She just said before she left this morning that she's going to stay home tomorrow, Sunday, and craft all day. And that's perfect because this is a creative art kind of card. It's in the house of home. So a great week to do some crafting, art, music, that kind of projects from home. That could be very rewarding for you this week. So trips to the seaside or a body of water. If you can't go in for a swim, at least put your feet in. And it's a great week to, this isn't just about entertaining yourself with crafting. It's about reigniting a part of you that is creative. Because let's say we're over in the realm of truth or politics. I can't imagine which one of you might be in that realm. But anyway, let's just assume that some of you possibly are. And you take in all this information and you've got all this incredible perspective and a lot of wisdom that goes along with that. But it's really hard to then kind of translate that into your daily life, right? It's like it's very abrupt going from that to regular world. And sometimes when we do art or crafting or in something creative in the arts realm, it's a bridge that connects us to the other side of our brain. And then have you ever noticed you're doing something creative and then all of a sudden you have an amazing idea of how to make use of some other idea that you had, right? It's like it just stimulates a different part of your brain. And we've got so far no swords in this layout. So the brain might be taking a bit of a rest, the rational brain, and we might be working with the creative side of the brain this week. Interesting. Ooh, it looks fun. So far, it's looking fun. I mean, this is a kind of also a bit of a homecoming with the 4 of Wands in Gemini. And then we've got 3 of Cups in Leo. Oh my gosh. Tarot readers, jump in and support me with this. 3 of Cups in Leo. Leo is kind of, if you wanted to have a party out of the 12 signs, you'd want to kind of connect it to Leo. And we've got the celebration kind of party card in the house of Leo. So, yeah, no pentacles either. Digibene is saying so far, no pentacles. We'll see how that goes, but you're going to feel, and rightfully so with all of this other, you see, if all of these other cards were kind of intense and challenging and head oriented, and then this was here, it could be like, either we need to take a break and play and have fun, or we're bypassing something. If this was negatively aspected, so far, very positively aspected. So allow yourself some spaciousness to have fun. Plan a little trip. do something with friends before you get to be miserable. Okay, so in Virgo, we have a little bit of self-pity, and we're coming close to the end. Actually, we're right on the cusp today of the end of Virgo season, the last, sliver of Virgo energy. And one thing that Virgos can do is they can get fixated on woe is me a little bit. And so that Virgo part of us that's like, why am I the one that always has to figure everything out? Why am I the one that always has to look after all the details? Why am I the one that always has the big responsibilities and to get everything done and make sure everything is handled? If you find yourself saying that a lot this week, it's literally because you just haven't, you're burnt out in terms of taking on a lot of responsibility and not having as much joy and play and fun. It literally is, look at this, folks. You can't make this up. Here he is going, woe is me, looking down disappointedly at the 3 cups that are spilled. And there's the 3 cups right there. So before you start making a big story about, we all have certainly a lot of things to grieve and feel sad about. I think every one of us. And some of us really do have huge things to grieve at this very moment. But there's also a lot to celebrate. And so watch the balance of that this week. Watch that you don't tip into, because another thing that Virgo energy is known for is martyrdom. So just watch that tendency this week, not to lean too far into after the party in Leo, headache in Virgo. Okay, so interesting. That is actually how I often describe this when I'm teaching about the transition between the 3, the 4, and the 5 of Cups. There is a little bit of a feeling of maybe I can't trust enjoying myself because it's going to leave me feeling disappointed. But in this case, it feels, we'll see what's on the other side. Let's pull the card on the other side and see which has more pull. Okay, so there's the 4 of Pentacles. Again, structure, order, responsibility. So is it possible that we're all feeling a bit overly, I want to say, dependent on and overly hyper responsible right now? And that's important that we actually do sustain the responsibilities. There's so many things to be paying attention to right now in terms of our own strategies, our financial plans, our business plans, our relationships, our connections, where we're going to live, our investments, all of that. So there's a lot of worldly responsibility that we're carrying, not just for ourselves, but the people that we are close to, right? Because Libra is about, and we're heading into Libra. And it's a lot about not only our serious long-term relationships, but also our commitments in relationship. So we still have a lot of work ahead of us. And this poor me kind of martyr energy actually makes it harder to get the work done. So I think we've got to take some time out to celebrate and balance this equation a bit, or we're going to just feel really put upon because the work is not over. I get like another 3 or 4 months even of important stabilizing ourselves. And interesting in the finance realm, isn't this curious as well? That the cups are gold, but the liquid going between them is, it looks like water, but it could also be seen as a silvery liquid. So I'm wondering if this is also indicating that silver might start doing what gold has just done. And so I think we're going to be, all of us, working very hard in the next 3 or 4 months to stabilize a new bank, a new independent bank within ourselves. And I've had so many clients in the last couple of weeks saying how much they're going to move into metals, either physical metals or, metal stock, precious metal stock. And I think many of us are having a plan to really grow that in the next 3 or 4 months. Almost like wherever you are, if it's at all possible, to at least double up what you've got already is kind of what I'm getting. And it's actually really also about us being part of the old system collapsing, because if we all kind of start pulling our money out of the banks, right? It's indicating that lack of confidence in that old system. So, something else to think about. We're part of the transfer, the wealth transfer. Our decisions about what we do with what we have are going to actually kind of jumpstart some of that transition, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Things could turn very, very quickly in the financial realm. So, yeah, like gold, silver, things could go very, very fast in this next 10 days. And then we've got in the house of, so that's in the house of Scorpio, endings and beginnings. But we were just talking about kind of financial security here in Libra. And then we had this card here about balancing and bringing balance into your own financial strategy. And now we've got another major arcana, Chariot, in the house of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about expansion. It's about spontaneity. It can be about travel. This is a travel card in a travel house, so that's interesting. We may be also planning to travel. It's interesting. I've been getting a lot of people ask me questions about travel, and I've had almost the same kind of wisdom channeling through over the last several years, actually. And what that is we're not meant to stop traveling. We're meant to think about travel differently, as opposed to it just being something to do for fun, to, sort of something to take up our time and fill our time with. That travel becomes something that is, it's a great honor and it's a great privilege, and we do it because there's a reason to do it. Like, we have a good reason, but we also do it knowing that there is a lot of political, economic, environmental instability on the planet, and there probably will be for quite some time. So we don't want to travel the way we did, say, 15, 20 years ago, where we just, make our plan and jump on a plane or something. We want to think a little bit more about it. And then we also want to always plan in, like, okay, if I can't go right now, I'm going to have travel insurance, and I'm going to try again 3 or 4 months from now. I'm not just going to give up traveling, because if we all give up traveling, guess what? If the agenda is to make us give up traveling and we do it willingly, we volunteer to do that. It's sort of like, okay, we handed over those rights, those freedoms, without even giving up a fight, in a way, right? Like, I remember Anya Kay. Some of you will remember Anya, the lovely Polish lady still has a lovely YouTube channel. And I remember her during the lockdowns, traveling all over the place without having the jab, And she was saying, well, if people, you have to jump through some hoops in some places, and other places you don't. And even the hoops are all like navigable. You can do it. It's just a bit of effort. And if we all say, well, I'm not even going to try, then we're kind of giving our power away. So the basic philosophy that I see is, do not give up traveling. Plan your trips. and plan into those trips pivot points where it's like I say to your guides, make this really obvious. When it gets down to the last week, 10 days, 48 hours, if there's some reason why it's not going to be safe for me to do this, make it obvious, like make a red light, oh, sorry, this is canceled. That's how I talk with my guides. I'm like, set it up so that it's really obvious. But then if it's a no, I'm not just going to give up and go, okay, well, I'm not going to go until the whole world is safe. I'm going to say, okay, I'll wait for a few months and try again. And that way we're not acquiescing to this new normal, which is we don't travel ever again. We're saying, yeah, we're going to do it differently. We're going to do it a bit more intentionally, and we're also going to be flexible. Does that, yeah, bailout options. Right. Saggy luck, right? Saggy luck. Yeah. Okay. I'm just reading up here a little bit. Okay. Comments are going all over the place. I can't follow. You guys are in your own little world over there. So I'm just going to carry on. And our next card up at the top is another major arcana. So we're coming in pretty heavy with the majors this time. So far, we're in 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's pretty average. Let's see how many come in here at the last portion. I'll take that comment down so that you can see. There you go. Okay, so lovers up in Capricorn. Lovers in Capricorn. Okay, so here we are. We're coming from this base of creativity, willingness to follow your own path. And then we've got choices. I feel like, to me, when I see the lovers in Capricorn, because Capricorn is a lot about, our self-actualization. And it seems as though it could be really great to not have just one version of how you're going to actualize your dreams, that you have at least a couple of plans, a plan A and a plan B. It's interesting. You notice the two Sphinx that are pulling the Chariot. And the idea with the Chariot is that we don't actually get anywhere until we harmonize our energy. So when we're in alignment, attunement, another number 7, a spiritual number, the Chariot is number 7, major arcana. When we're in alignment, things are effortless. When we're out of alignment, we don't go anywhere. It doesn't matter. You can beat yourself. You can be like, willpower, I must force this to happen. It's like, that's going to become more and more apparent that we're not going to get much traction if we're out of alignment. So it's actually a good gauge to see where you're at with your own personal will and motivation, that things could grow very quickly if you're on track. And sometimes the alignments are not a huge adjustment. You can be almost in alignment. You've just got to do some micro adjusting and then you're completely in alignment. It feels like we used to have a lot more buffer zone with that. And now we're coming into such a frequency that you have to be pretty strongly in full alignment and full attunement to really get traction in this time. Do other people feel that? Have you had a sense that things don't really get going now unless they are really just in this super clear frequency bandwidth? And then I get this sense that we are, again, there's a bit of this going between the two sides, back and forth between the two sides, holding space for more than one possibility going forward, more than one plan of the future. And also the 2 cups here, the balance and the harmonizing. So it seems like Capricorn is a lot around your purpose. So you could have had a strong identity up until now about having a certain purpose. And they're saying it's not that that is no longer true. It's just that you want to make sure you have a few different ways that you can express that purpose, that it isn't just one plan. And if that doesn't happen, you don't get there. So that's what I'm seeing with that. Just going to check over in the comments. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be much forgiveness with the astrology or the energies at this time. And it doesn't mean there isn't much forgiveness, actually, Digidine. What I get is that we're actually being held to a not a pure standard, but a more high frequency efficient standard, right? It's like running a high octane engine that needs good fuel, right? Do you get that? It's kind of like, it's not that there's no forgiveness. It's that we've achieved the option to be really clearly shown. Yeah. So more than one options about which way to go forward, and so that you leave some room for the universe to direct you as well, right? Okay, coming into the home stretch here, everybody. 8 of Swords in Aquarius, across from the 3 of Swords, or 3 of Cups. 8 of Swords in Aquarius. You know, I'm noticing the similarity between these two with the water running under the feet. Do you see that? It's kind of like this is us taking the high ground. A lot of people are in the low ground and stuck in the divide. There's so much division and a lot of hurt, and people are feeling really stuck. Just explain a little bit about this card. I used to call it the Houdini card, meaning, you got yourself into this because you're all wrapped up in your own beliefs and you're all surrounded by your own ideas that have now become a kind of a fencing you in by your own ideas. But the rumor has it that this character, her hands are free. She can actually just untie herself and literally walk away. You see, she can't walk right now because she doesn't see very well. But when she unties herself, she'll be able to find her way out. And the rumor also has it that she originally came from this kind of high up on this hill, but she found herself down in the open flatlands. And now she's lost, but home is so close, but she can't see it because she's all kind of caught up. It feels a lot like this is what's going on in our world. We're all kind of down in the flatlands fighting it out. And so many people have gotten trapped by their own beliefs to the point where they're just stuck. And it makes me think about those battle tactics from old warring traditions where they would get the armies down in the valley fighting it out, and then they would just like flood the valley or something and kill all of them. So like, it's kind of a call for us to say, you know what, let's leave debating right now and get back to the safety of a higher level. Like, this guy's up high. This one is down in the sort of valley of debate and who's right and who's wrong. And we're not going to get very far there right now. And we're in a way, we're at risk staying down in that valley, because if it floods, we're all toast. So come out of that need to be right. It's not likely that we're going to solve a lot of these debates right now. And there will come a time, but nobody's really listening at the moment. Mm-hmm. Aw. I'll wait until the commercial break so I don't miss any of the live. Okay, I'll do a commercial break. How about that? Sure, we can do it. Let's do a commercial break. So that's so cute. I have it on record. One of you asked for a commercial. My younger daughter, when she was little, she used to call them commercials. Here comes those commercials again, Mom. Okay, let's put up a commercial. So, oh, well, we'll start with me. Why not? Here we go. You can book a session with me. Find me on the Beyond Mystic consultations page. So, here's a very cool offering, the Shungite Stack Sale. You've probably heard about it already, but in case you haven't, you buy 2 Shungite pieces and get 1 free. 2 of equal or lesser value automatically applied at the checkout and valid until September 28th. That's not that long, another 8 days. It's so interesting. I just did a session with a client earlier this week, and I literally saw almost like this kind of headband with a Shungite piece on either side, right over the temple. And then she sent me a picture. She actually made herself, she had 2 Shungites and she made them into this kind of like, anyway, I'm just thinking how you could do that with a couple of these. And it was something to do with like healing the balance between the left and right hemisphere of the brain. So, anyway, kind of a cool thought to do with Shungite. And then the other thing that we have as a special this week is this Shamanic Breathwork Part 1 and 2 bundle, 50% off, code BreathWork50. That's with our lovely Sylvia. And I just love her offerings. She's a powerful being, and breath is the thing that, if all else fails, doing breath work is going to expand your heart, elevate your frequency, clear your body, clear your energy. I can't recommend it highly enough. So check that out. Okay. Well, I've only got 2 more cards to lay down. Let's see what they are. Pisces, which is our hopes, our fears, also our self-undoing, also our dreams. The world, our hopes, our fears, our self-undoing. You know, this is pretty well aspected, this world card. And okay, I'm going to speak a little bit about gateways because there's, let's see, I'm trying to think, what would I call real gateway cards? I would call this one 4 of Wands. I would call 2 of Wands, Judgment, and the World as the major gateway cards in the tarot. So we have 2 of those 4 major gateways. So out of 78, there's 4 gateways, major gateways. I mean, the moon and the high priestess are kind of gateways too, but they're more gateways into the subconscious, which is very interesting because the world is a gateway out of the subconscious. So 2 out of the 4 gateways present, indicating that we are upgrading, we're advancing, we're going through, we're breaking the barrier or the ceiling of our last. So frequency wise, we're busting through the last ceiling of frequency elevation that we got to. So we're up leveling another degree here. And this is coming from Pisces. So from the inside out, you again, that reminds me a bit of the Chariot. We don't go anywhere really of any tremendous value or consequence until we're harmonized with that frequency of the direction we're going. So this would indicate that we must be better off than we feel we are. Okay, like this is our feeling. We're feeling a bit sorry for ourselves. And hey, you know what? It's understandable. I actually had a little bit of a pity party a couple of nights ago. I was just feeling really wow about a couple of areas of my life. And I just had a good rant about it. You know, it's okay. It's okay to feel sad or disappointed about things. Just don't let that be the end of the story, right? You can have your pity party, but realize that you may be surprised how close you are to a really big up level. And a lot of times, just before we go through a big up level, we go through a bit of a pity party. So don't get stuck here in this pity party. Just be like, I know what's coming. I'm in a pity party. That means I'm about to have an upgrade. All right. The centerpiece of the week is the Empress. I'm really contemplative today. Seventh pillar. I heard you say my vid feed is 7 minutes and 40 seconds behind the chat. So sorry about that. That might be why I feel like I'm getting messages in that are like things I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. Digibeen is saying I see the Wheel of Fortune as kind of a portal as well. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. It does have, similar to the World card, the Wheel of Fortune does have these directional elemental characters. You see that? We've got Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo, signs of the zodiac. And so these are representing these aspects of the different elements, the different directions. So there is a bit of a portal energy to that. You're right, there is. So that would mean there are technically 3 gateway or portal cards in this spread this week. 3 of a kind is a blessing. So, and then we end off on a number 3, which is the Empress. She's the 3rd. She's very, very close friends with this Queen of Wands. Creativity, feminine energy, your relationship with your mother, or if you're a mother with your children, could be highlighted this week. There could be tremendous healing in this regard. And also, I think I could share with you something that came through a reading this week. It was so powerful and extraordinary. And it was about the masculine and the feminine energy. And the feminine energy was, we usually think of the masculine energy as the sun and the feminine as the moon. But what I was shown is that the feminine energy is actually the stars, which is a culmination of many suns. And the masculine is the sun, the singular sun. So there's more to that story. I'll share it another time. But she is wearing the stars of all of the astrological signs. And her necklace has all the planets. So she's very much, even though she's very earth oriented, she is a goddess figure that represents our earthly connection to the cosmos. She's very cosmic. I think it's a bit of a cliffhanger. I think there's a mystery, a riddle to be solved this week, and we'll see what comes in as a result of the overall energy. But one thing I can say is that we see very few swords other than this one, which is connected to our friends and our social circles and so on. So everybody's feeling a bit off, and it's probably not a good idea to get into debates this week with anybody, because everyone's feeling tender. It's probably going to be better to just agree on the common things that we can celebrate and enjoy as friends, colleagues, co-humans on this extraordinary planet. Stay in our creativity. There is a little bit of invitation to some kind of travel, or at least even the planning of travel, to shifting our vision of what our purpose is, to at least include a plan B with that. It's a pretty great week. I like it. What are you all feeling? Debates are what I have with myself. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Fred Emmerich. Awesome reading. Yeah, the cushy Empress at the center. So isn't that lovely that we have, I wonder if it is kind of a week where we could enjoy things, excuse me, like spa treatments and things like that, that are not just about being indulgent, but they're actually about restoring balance and harmony to ourselves. So like spa treatments, massages, things of that nature would be really good this week as well, because we might not realize it, but many of us are kind of running on empty. And those kinds of things can really restore that frequency, which then helps the chariot move forward in a good way. Yeah. Well, we're coming to the close here. Cassandra says, fantastic. Thank you, Cassandra. So interesting about a huge psyop this week, and I don't know about that. I feel like we might have a bit of a week off from that. And we could say that it's a breather in a way this week, but it's not just a passive breather, because we've got quite a few major cards here, major arcana cards, right? There's 22 in the deck of 78 that I pulled out of, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So almost half the spread is major cards. So that is a major growth week, but it might not be preempted by big psyops or big events externally. It might be more internal. And it might be more kind of things that have been building for a long time. Like I see financial systems more than anything, especially expansion of metals. So I'm curious. Let's keep our eye on that this week. It's been awesome to share time with you. As I always say, I just couldn't get these kinds of messages if I just went in and asked questions from the cards. It's because we're all tuning in together, that there's such an extraordinary breadth of wisdom to draw from all our guidance teams. So thank you for sharing this special event with me on a week-to-week basis. I really appreciate it. And I will see you here. Gosh, I can't say on Tuesday now. But there is some rumor that it won't be too much longer before I'll be coming in and doing a Thursday show with my daughter, Crystal. So stay tuned to that. I think we're starting not this coming Thursday, but the following one, or maybe it is this coming one. Anyway, you'll hear more about that. And of course, I believe it's going to be back with Penny Kelly on Friday for Intuition Friday this coming week. So have a beautiful week, everybody. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you again here real soon.